Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RunIowa podcast. I'm Rob Lindquist, and I'm by myself today. I'm going solo, so episode 95 coming to you right now. I want to just throw out there for everybody that this weekend is the Boonville Backroads Ultra, and if you get a chance to maybe sign up for that next year or check it out if you're able to get down to Boonville, Iowa this week, do so and check it out. It looks like a fun event. I know Dave and I are planning on helping out as much as possible with that race in the near future, so check out the Boonville Backroads on Twitter, on Facebook, and anywhere else that you can find that information. This episode of RunIowa is coming up next. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Again, as I mentioned, this is Rob, and I'm just by myself today, and that's okay. If you want, you definitely don't need to, but we're trying out a couple different things here as we get ready for our summer months. Dave is gone today, but I decided I'm going to record myself so you can see the video of this podcast as well at runiowa.org. Check out the video blog. You will see me unfiltered. Not really. That's a pun because I actually have a filter, and if you're watching the video, you'll see that. So check it out. I know that was horrible. You have to entertain yourself sometimes. And so today in this podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit about my running watch experience that I got here. You might have seen the unboxing video that I did on our runiowa.org page or our YouTube channel that talked about my new running watch. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk with Seth Johnson from the Healthier Iowa Coalition. He works with the American Heart Association and the Healthier Iowa Coalition. As a part of that, I'm going to speak with him. And then, of course, of the weeks, you can see it all on the video. Again, if you like watching podcasts, I actually found that I liked watching one of the podcasts I'd listened to. If you've never seen Still Entitled, The Adam Savage Project, that's the idea I'm going for here. Just some guys, and in this case, a guy, just talking into the microphone. So that's what the video is going to go for. Otherwise, I appreciate you listening with me here today. We're going to get started with my watch, and you'll be able to see the watch on the video, and I'm showing it right now upside down. I ended up having to get a new watch here lately since our last podcast, and actually, amazingly, that was, I believe, 2 weeks ago is when we recorded our last podcast. And in that time, I've been able to wholly get a new watch. My old watch was the TomTom Spark 3. It was an upgrade from the Nike TomTom running watch that I used to have. I bought a long, long time ago. So I had that, and I believe the Nike TomTom watch was the first review we ever did for this podcast 2.5 years ago. I'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And then what I did was it malfunctioned. There were some issues with that watch. And so TomTom actually stopped working with Nike at that time. And Nike offered an upgrade for me to just the TomTom the TomTom Spark 3 watch, GPS running watch. And so that's the watch I've had before. I also did a quick review on those and preview of that watch when I had it, and I loved it. And I have nothing against that watch at all. But a few weeks ago, I noticed that when I took off my watch, and it wasn't when I took off my watch, but after I had taken off my watch, I noticed there was a red spot on my wrist, right where the watch goes. And I posted a picture on Twitter. I said, I don't think that's supposed to happen, TomTom. And what it had looked like is my wrist had a little, it looked like the skin had been fringed or burned a little bit. I need to say, and maybe not disclaimer, but what happened was, or what I don't know what happened, but what I think happened was it had something to do with the heart rate monitor, the laser, or something along those lines. On the back side of the watch, if you're looking at the video, you can see there's a little where the heart rate monitor gets the information through that beam. My assumption is it's in that spot, so it has something to do with that light. So, needless to say, TomTom responded to my message within the day and said, let's talk. So we talked, and I'm always 100% honest, and I was 100% honest, and I said, listen, I love the watch. I have nothing against the watch itself, but really, this isn't good. And so they offered two things for me, because apparently the Nike, I said Nike again, the TomTom Spark 3 is not, they're not maybe making it anymore or something, but they offered either a full refund of retail value for that watch or an upgrade to their newer watch, which is the one I currently now have, the TomTom Adventurer watch. And of course, I took the upgrade, obviously, because I thought, why do the same thing? If there's something wrong with that model, maybe we'll try something else. And it's a great opportunity for me as a podcaster to say, hey, I can review this new watch. So that's the story of how I got the new watch. TomTom, I sent the tweet again within the day. They had sent something back to me to contact me, and then it was basically email correspondence with a customer service representative that basically said, okay, what's wrong? I said, here's what happened. He said, wow, okay. Showed him the picture again, which he already saw, I would assume, and then was able to get everything worked out. I didn't have to pay for shipping. I didn't have to really... I guess they saw my wrist and they took my word. And again, I'm not trying to be untruthful because it's all very truthful, but they took me for my word. So I appreciated the amount of trust that they were showing in their customers, or their customer at this point. And that's why I appreciate this watch a little bit. The design of the watch is pretty similar to my old watch, and I liked that design. One of my friends said, well, you've always wanted an Apple Watch. And I said, yeah, I do. But I really do enjoy this watch. There's nothing with this watch I don't enjoy, except for maybe not getting text messages, but I guess that could be a good thing as well. It has a little sturdier wristband. I mentioned that in our unboxing video as well. And I think the wristband, the hinge here is very important for this type of watch that is going to go through a lot of physical activity, as opposed to just a silicone or rubber molded watch band. So I'll get into a review later, but that's the story of my TomTom watch and how I now have an Adventurer watch. If you remember, or if you've seen anything about the guy who went through, I think it was Craigslist, and he upgraded a paperclip into a house or something like that. I don't feel like I'm doing that, but I did buy the Nike TomTom watch 2.5 years ago, and now I'm at the TomTom Adventurer. So a little bit different, same basic ideas. I do want to say publicly as well, thank you to TomTom for being so good at customer service. I mean, they had no issues. I had no issues with getting this the old watch back to them. I went to I'm not going to say relatively close, but for where I'm at, I had a carrier service that was relatively close that they wanted me to use, so it wasn't a big deal to go drop it off and get it mailed, which is important to me because I would have not wanted to return it if it was going to be a huge deal. But I did. I returned the watch, and so it's off to hopefully get fixed, have some research on it, and figure out what the hell happened to my wrist. I have no medical issues. It was just, hopefully, I guess. I don't know. I haven't had any medical issues yet. But it's just a cosmetic little burn little mark I have, and I appreciate the work that TomTom did. So watch for a review of this in the future, this watch in the future. In the initial few days that I've had it and I've been wearing it, it's been great. I'm about to go for a run with it. So hopefully, I actually went for a run. The day the new watch came in, I went for a run with the old watch, just as one last hurrah. And so I'm ready to go for a run with the new watch and check on connectivity and all of that good stuff as well. The neat part about the newer watch, though, it has to do with, it has GPS, or the old one did too. It has trails. You can pinpoint trails and mark a map, and then just go get lost somewhere. And your watch can tell you then, hey, I want to go and get back to my starting point, and it'll direct you and say, hey, turn here to go back. So I'm looking forward to that feature out at Hitchcock, and that way I know I'm not too lost. I can always use it. There's also a built-in compass on this, which my other watch did not have. So, all right, that's it for the watch. That's my story to get it out there. Thank you again, TomTom, for helping me out and doing, I guess, really good customer service on something that was completely unexpected. And again, within 2 weeks, I had the new watch and I mailed off the other one. So there's that. I'm going to take my break here right now. I'm going to come back with you with Seth Johnson. Seth works with the American Heart Association and the Healthier Iowa Coalition, which is a neat little, I say neat, and that was very degrading. I apologize. It's an organization that actually promotes, being healthier in Iowa, especially with like getting kids to walk to school or to bike to school and that sort of thing. And it's, I love that idea. And I wish that I could bike to school more than I do right now. So it's very cool. Great interview with Seth, and I appreciate him coming on. He talks about his running as well and how he's actually a biker and he's getting into, he's just recently started running. So that transition is a little different. So stick with us. This is episode number 95 of the RunIowa podcast. And welcome back to the podcast. And on the line with us now is Seth Johnson. He's with the American Heart Association and Healthier Iowa. Correct? Is that Healthier Iowa?
The Healthier Iowa Coalition.
Healthier Iowa Coalition. See, you'd think I'd be good at this, but even after we just spoke, I still messed it up after we got started. So anyway, Seth, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Not too bad, not too bad. Tell us about the Healthier Iowa Coalition and really what they do with the American Heart Association and what your role is with this organization.
Great. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate
problem.
it. This is a lot of fun. The Healthier Iowa Coalition is kind of a group that's been around for a couple of years now and really kind of coalesced around the idea of the need to get more funding in our state of Iowa for safe routes to school. So
okay.
Safe routes to school is that principle of, instead of kids getting dropped off in those wonderful carpool lanes that parents get to deal with, how about we build in some physical activity for our kids each and every day, and we set up the infrastructure so that they can walk or bike to school. And so that's what Safe Routes to School is. And so this coalition is pretty big. We have American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Association, Brain Injury Alliance, the Northeast Iowa Agency on Aging, Partnership for Better Health, a lot of different statewide and local nonprofit organizations are a part of this coalition advocating to get our kids out and get healthy. And that's what I do. So I work for the American Heart Association. My whole focus as a campaign manager is to go out and try to work with communities and then also work on the state level to make sure that Iowans have the ability, the access, and the resources to go out and be active as much as possible.
So I guess Dave and I are both teachers here. We teach in Western Iowa.
Right.
And so I know from personal experience, it sucks to bike to work from my house to school. So I can't imagine how it might be for some of our kids that might live a little further away than I do, or even closer, just don't necessarily have the routes. What was the need, or where did you guys find the need to do this, or what really brought this to your guys' attention? You mentioned the obesity levels were, high or whatnot.
Yeah, so obesity levels is one. Also, just inactivity amongst our children. I feel like more and more of our time is spent being sedentary instead of moving. Also, that we just see a massive decline. Not that long ago, roughly 60% of our kids walked to or from school, and now it's down to 13%.
Oh wow.
It's not, our communities have changed in some regards where, the location of some of those schools are getting a little bit farther out. They're not in the urban centers anymore. But the Safe Routes to School program is essentially kind of making it possible for at least you to have somewhat access to like a bike lane or, an easy bikeable street for you to get to your school, whether you be a teacher or whether you be a student. It's kind of putting that infrastructure in place, but then also doing programs like walking school buses. So those kids that are within that half mile, working with the school, working with, in other parts of the state, we've seen working with, with kind of the retired community and the police departments where they will actually kind of walk around the neighborhood and pick up kids and then finally make that last little jaunt to school. So that's kind of the principle of what it is. And it's American Heart Association nationally. We've been working on this for a long time. And it's something that we're just, we've been working on in Iowa for a long time as well too. It's just we're trying to continue that work as we start to see state dollars get a little bit tighter, and the funding for these programs kind of get a little bit tighter too.
Sure, we can get into politics if you want, but I promise I won't. With that being said, is this something that is more in a larger town or a smaller town, or is it kind of all over right now?
Well, it's all over. Some of our greatest programs are up in Northeast Iowa, and in towns of 5,000 people. And then I live in Des Moines, but I don't have kids right now, but I couldn't walk my kids to any schools that we'd be walking to right now. So, and sometimes your more medium-sized towns are a little bit better at it. I know Mason City, for instance, has some fantastic programs where they have safe routes to school programs and walking school buses programs that are run by the county health department up there, and they do some really good work. So it's an all over the state program and need as well too.
I was taking a look at the website before we got started, and one of the things it mentions is opening school facilities for the public. Is that something that you kind of work with, or how would that work into the fold with the organization?
So that's kind of shared access, and we spend all these money as taxpayers to build these great facilities for our students, right? So that our students can be fantastic athletes and kind of get that training necessary. Well, a lot of those facilities shut down at 305 and don't really open up for the community. So where there aren't YMCAs, where there aren't gyms, that high school gym or that junior high gym is really the only recreation opportunities for some of these communities. And so kind of working with schools and getting those facilities open to the general public is something that we've worked on in the past. We have had some legislation in the past too as well on that to kind of work to open up some of these school facilities and allow the general public to come in and use those facilities. Again, Dave and I are in Council Bluffs, if I didn't mention that. We're kind of a larger community. I could see that absolutely being something really cool for a smaller community, especially where they don't, like you said, have access to a YMCA without having to switch towns. Have you guys seen a lot of positive impact with that stuff already? We're starting to see a lot of it. We have there's some great pilot programs around the state. It's not something that I get to work on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, there are some things. Obviously there's legal barriers.
Sure.
As someone who's worked with lawyers for a really long time, there's legal barriers to everything that you do. And so it's kind of working through that with the communities and with the partnership, but there are some great pilot programs. If people are interested in learning more about that, they're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk more about those.
Sure. I want to go back then to our, the program Safe Routes to School. Do you have any statistics on the number of kids? I know I'm just throwing this on you, so I apologize. But maybe the numbers of kids that are obese. You said that only 13% are walking to school now. But how many are overweight in the state of Iowa, if you know?
So our go-to number with that is 2/3
okay.
of adult and children don't get enough recommended physical activity.
Okay.
So we don't have a good obesity measure. Unlike other states where they kind of do that in the school systems, we don't do that in Iowa, so I can't give you a good number. But we do say, 2/3 of adults and children in the state of Iowa do not get the recommended, 30 minutes of physical activity.
Okay. How does this affect the cold? We're in Iowa. It gets cold in the winter. How do you have plans in place, or is it just kind of, when we can get there, just get them moving as much as possible, or are there other things for the winter time?
Well, in the wintertime, it's never too cold. It's just not layers.
Exactly.
Is what the issue is. And it's really funny is that these kids, it's too cold to walk, but they really need to go out and have that recess. And
right.
If it's warm enough for them to have recess, I think it's warm enough for them to, maybe lace up some heavier boots and take that walk out there with mom and dad to get to school as well too. I'm the wrong person to talk about this because I love winter sports. I love running in the winter.
Absolutely.
More than I'm running right now. So I'm the wrong person to kind of say, it's too cold out there. I would much rather have it be cold.
I do want to talk about your running, but I want to just ask, is there anything maybe that we need to make sure we mention when we talk about Healthier Iowa as far as either goals or things you've accomplished that we need to make sure we let the public know about?
I guess the really big thing is, safe routes to school is possible, and it can start at any community. It just takes one kid or one parent to say, you know what, instead of hopping in the car, let's jump on the bike, let's take a walk to school, and then just your city, your municipality, your county, your community to kind of make that program and start to see it get traction. I think that that the potential is there for a lot of Iowans to walk or to bike to school or to work, and it just takes changing of a mindset and putting down those keys and grabbing those sneakers in the morning instead. And anyone can do it, and just continuing to say that just there's another option, and walking is an option out there.
Let's talk about your running a little bit. You had told me just before we came on air that your wife got you interested into running, or really into running, and that's kind of how my story started as well. So tell us about your running, what your favorite runs are right now, and if you're training for anything.
So yeah, I'm actually an avid cyclist. My background has always been in biking.
Nice. Okay. How's the transition been? I guess the
transition is interesting. Okay. Definitely have had to relearn breathing, which is something that I never really appreciated until I'm out running with my wife, and she's like, "Drop your arms, you're not breathing." And my wife has run for years and years and years, ran in high school and ran competitively, so she likes to critique my form constantly. But no, right now, we have 2 dogs that we love to take on runs. We got those leashes that are the hands-free leashes that go around your waist.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Which are, if you have any of your listeners that don't have them and have some hills on their run, your dog can really help you up those hills. I feel like my split time, it's really, really well when the dog starts pulling. But yeah, just really gotten into it. I'm an Iowa native who left as fast as possible after he graduated high school and just moved back about 2 years ago now. So really been enjoying the Central Iowa Trails Network, getting out and running those as much as possible. Trying to get my wife on a bike as much as I can. It doesn't happen that often, but we run about 3 days a week. We try to build in around 5 to 7 miles as much as we can.
Nice. If you don't mind, what kind of dogs do you run with?
So we have the perfect Chicago dog, which is where we moved from, which is a miniature Labradoodle.
Nice.
She's about 25 pounds, and then we work with a rescue here in Central Iowa, which is A. Hines 57, and we fostered this dog, and then we foster failed with a 60-pound mutt who needs the run every day to calm down.
Well, that's awesome that you guys were able to do that and get your dogs involved with that. I guess do you have any races that you're planning on with your dogs or without? We locally over in Western Iowa, we have a race that is Tails and Trails, and they offer runs with the pets. Have you gotten into anything like that with your dogs?
No, we haven't yet. That sounds. We're gonna have to check that out. We haven't really. We were newlyweds last year.
Oh, congratulations!
So we got married last summer, and so I think training just hasn't been on our radar yet. But we're starting to get back into that a little bit more. We've always been fans of the Kloppen Classic in Pella, the 5K there, which is just great. And we probably won't do anything too major this year, but I think the push is to do a half early next year if we can get there. So
nice. How has your running background or new running background? I don't know how long exactly you've been running or biking, but how does that help with the work you do with Healthier Iowa Coalition?
I've only been running really with my wife for about 2 years now, and I have to say I never thought that I could be a runner until one day, I just put them on and went out with her and tried it. And even though I was running a 14-minute mile, over the course of a couple of months, I was able to see that drop and able to see me go further and able to see me, fight through my plateaus and just continue to learn more technique. So my lesson is that anyone can become a runner. It just, you have to try. You can't get frustrated. You can't take days off, even though if it's sprinkling a little bit or today it's a little hazy out in Central Iowa. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't lace up and go out for a nice little run, but also, build in that building that rest time. I think that was my big learning curve that I haven't quite learned from yet, is that, I think I can do 7 miles one day and then a day later go out and do another 5. And I just my legs don't quite like that very much.
Well, maybe you can do the 7-mile run and then a 15-mile bike ride the next day and use it that way and rest that way. A couple different muscles. Well, Seth,
yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, the other one is what's been really fun for me as an advocate for these is that, I get to talk about how much I enjoy these trail system and how blessed we are in Central Iowa, and how much I would like to see these programs and our trail network out in other parts of the state. Out in your guys' part of the state, get you guys some great trails. I know you have some good ones out there too, but get you a really big, robust trail network, and the benefits economically, physically, all those things would be great to see across Iowa.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time with me. And if people want more information, they can go to healthieriowa.com. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And on Twitter and Facebook as well?
On Twitter. Yep, no Facebook.
No Facebook. So on Twitter and at healthieriowa.com. Seth, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. All right, it's time now for the of the weeks, and I'm going to have both of those for you since I'm the only one here. First of all, thanks to Seth for his awesome information. I love that cause, and in getting kids and people healthier lifestyles and helping think about making better choices walking or biking to work. The thing that astounds me a little bit is 2/3 of adults and children don't get enough activity in their daily routine. I hope that as a teacher, and I think we've mentioned this on this podcast, I have stand-up desks. If you're watching the video, I have stand-up desks right here for my students, and hopefully that helps a little bit as well. That'll lead us right into those tips that I was just talking about. And the first one is a local race, local for the left-siders over here. On the west side, it's the Seuss on the Loose Family Character Run on June the 3rd, Saturday, June the 3rd, coming right up here in Council Bluffs. The run itself is to raise literacy awareness and exercise for the whole family. You can activate creativity by dressing as your favorite storybook character. You can find information at localraces.com and do a search for Council Bluffs, Iowa, and that will actually help you find the Seuss on the Loose. Or just go to runiowa.org. We'll have the show information there about halfway down on our website, and you can find the information for this as well. The price, I'm sorry. The pricing is $25 for runners for the 5K. It is a timed event. It starts at 9 o'clock. There is the Pancake Man there as well from 8 to 8:45, or actually at 8 o'clock. Prizes will be awarded. T-shirts will be there for you, and they're not guaranteed for any reservations after today, the 25th. But you can go ahead and get that ordered for you as well. Prizes awarded to the first, second, and third place adult finishers for both men and women. So this is a prize race for you. Again, I said the registration is $25. There is a fun run for kids. That's just $10 for the kids. So get your kids out there and get them active as well. All right. That is our race of the week, the Seuss on the Loose Family Character Run here in Council Bluffs on June the 3rd. Time for the tip of the week now. And this tip is actually for you beginning runners out there, just getting started, or maybe you take up another sport and want to kind of migrate that into running a little bit. These are just, let's see here. These are just tips for beginning runners. So the first is run every day. We've talked about that before, in just getting yourself into a routine of running. Now, that doesn't mean run hard every day. Maybe you just get up and go for a nice brisk walk one day, especially beginning runners. But get yourself in a routine to do that. Give yourself a reason to start running is another one of the tips here. And by the way, I'm giving you tips from health.com, an article that they ran is where we're getting that information. You can read all of the tips, again, at runiowa.org in our show information. You do want to invest in yourself when you're running. And invest in comfort, especially. So women getting a good sports bra or good shoes for both men and women, or socks even. If you need to find a good fit so you're comfortable, so that it's not a turnoff to start running, especially as a beginning runner. Find somebody to really push you, to motivate you, whether it's a friend or a spouse or a partner, that you're going to get that external motivation from them. Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's a podcast. Using a foam roller is of use for some runners, especially beginning runners. Dress in layers if it's a little chillier out. And this one's going to be hard for some of you beginning runners. And for you veteran runners, this, maybe you've already worked it into your routine, but put off partying a little, of happy hour the day before a race, or a bigger training session. It does impair your sleep quality and hydration levels, so be aware of those parties. If you want all the tips, there are 15 tips that you need to know from health.com. Again, check out RunIowa.org, and I'm going to be back right after this to wrap up episode 95 of the Run Iowa podcast. All right, so to wrap things up here on this solo show here by me, I'm glad to get back into the podcast a little bit more regularly here in the summer. I hope that we're able to do that for you guys, because I know a lot of runners run more in the summer than they do in the winter. And so it's a goal of ours to get some things done more consistently. If you have somebody in mind that you would like to hear from as a guest on our podcast, please shoot them an email, or shoot us an email and tell us about them, and I will shoot them an email. My email address you can use is robruniowa@gmail.com. You can also just use our website, runiowa.org. At the very bottom of it, there's a contact page, or just use the contact button up at the top. And check out or send us some ideas for people you want to hear about. Maybe you want to hear more about healthy eating, and so just shoot us an idea. Hey, I want to hear about it from a dietitian, or you want to hear from somebody that's a sleep expert, or a coach of some sorts, or a friend. Maybe you have a friend that's just persevering through something right now, and running is really helping them. Help us tell their story. So get online, shoot me an email, robruniowa@gmail.com, or use the website to do so as well, runiowa.org, and we will get these people on and their stories on. The best part about this podcast, I think, personally, are the stories that we can help tell. If you missed a story from earlier in our podcast life, go back and listen to some of those interviews that we had. Some really good stories going on. And we're hoping to continue our good stories here with some partnerships that we're working on with some different organizations, so that we can get to tell their stories as well. But we are always about you. Make sure you're in contact at RunIowa on Twitter, Facebook/RunIowa as well. And we'll see you out there on the trails, everybody. Happy trails.